Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Pahi Mam 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 Krishna 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 Rakshai Krishna 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 Rakshama Krishna 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 Rakshama
Hare
Srimad Bhagavatam ki Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled Bodhis, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gaura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Namaskritya
Naram Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jaya Mudiraya
Tato Jaya Mudiraya
Nasta Praeshu Abhadresu
Praeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Prabhati Naishtiki.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan. Unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavad and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically till now, and thus loving service unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with transcendental hymns, becomes established as an irrevocable fact.
Jai.
Kangrati vachalam bangam lingayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurun dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, text number 10. Okay, please repeat. Ya ya Kata Bhagavata Ya Kata Bhagavata Kata Niyoru Karmanaha Kata Niyoru Karmanaha Guna Karmashraya Bumbi Guna Karmashraya Bumbi Samsweja Ta Bubusubi Samswedyasta Bubusubi Yaya Kata Bhagavata Katam Niyoru Karmanaha Guna Karmashraya Bumbi Samsweyasta Babusubi Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Yaya Katha Bhagavataha
Katani Yoru Kamanaha
Katani Yoru Karmanaha
Guna Kama Sraya Bhumi
Guna Karma Shraya Pumbhi
Samsvayasta Bubusubi
Samseyasta Bhuvusubhi
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Yaya Katha Bhagavata
Katani Yoru Kamanaha
Katani Yoru Karmanaha
Guna Kama Sraya Bhumi
Guna Karma Shraya Pumbhi
Samsvayasta Bubusubi
Samseyasta Bhuvusubhi Yaya Katha Bhagavata
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Kathani Yoru Karmanaha
Katani Yoru Kamanaha
Guna Karma Shraya Pumbhi
Guna Kama Sraya Bhumi
Samseyasta Bhuvusubhi
Samsvayasta Bubushubi
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Katani Yoru Karmana
Katani Yoru Karmanaha
Guna Kama Shraya Pumbhi
Guna Karma Shraya Pumbhi
Samsirashasta Bhuvusubhi
Samseyasta Bhuvusubhi
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Yaya Katha Bhagavata
Katani Yoru Kamana
Katani Yoru Kamanaha
Guna Kama Shra
Guna Kama Sraya Bhumi
Samsvayata Bhusubiha
Samsvayasta Bubushubi
Come on, Prabhu. Go. You can't see.
Can see. Okay.
Okay.
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Yaya Kata Bhagavata
Katani Yoru Kamana
Katani Yoru Kamanaha
Guna Karma Shraya Pumbhi
Guna Kama Sraya Bhumi
Samseyastat Bubusubhi
Samsvayasta Bubusubi. Anyone else? That's it, huh? Okay. Yaha.
Yaha.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Yaha.
Yaha.
Whatsoever.
Whatsoever
Kataha.
Katha
Topics. Bhagavata.
Bhagavataha
About the personality of Godhead.
about the personality of Godhead.
Kataniya.
Kataniya
What to be spoken by me.
What could be spoken by me?
Uru Kramaha.
Guru Krama
Of him who acts wonderfully.
Who acts wonderfully.
Guna.
Guna
Transcendental qualities.
Transcendental
qualities.
Karma.
Karma
Uncommon deed.
Common deeds.
Astrayaha.
Ashraya.
Involving.
Involving.
Kumbhi.
Kumbhi.
By persons.
By persons.
Samsvayaha.
Samsvayaha
Ought to be heard.
Ought to be heard.
Taha.
Taha.
All of them.
All of them.
Bubusubi.
Bubusubi.
By those who want their own welfare.
By those who want their own welfare.
Translation. Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead, who acts wonderfully. Please repeat. Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life
Those who are desirous of attaining complete perfection in life
must submissively hear all topics
must submissively hear all topics
that are connected with the transcendental activities
that are connected with transcendental activities
and qualities
and qualities
of the personality of Godhead,
of the personality of Godhead,
who acts wonderfully.
who acts wonderfully.
Srila Prabhupada's divine purport.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The systematic hearing of the transcendental activities, qualities, and names of Lord Sri Krishna pushes one towards eternal life. Systematic hearing means knowing Him gradually in truth and fact. And this knowing Him in truth and fact means attaining eternal life. It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Such transcendental, glorified activities of Lord Sri Krishna are the prescribed remedy for counteracting the process of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are considered to be material awards for the conditioned living entity. The culmination of such a perfectional stage of life is the goal of human life and the attainment of transcendental bliss. Thus ends the purport, the Bhaktivedanta purport, to the 18th, first canto, 18th chapter, text number 10. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
I offer my humble obeisances unto lotus feet of His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who is opening the eyes of everyone with the torchlight of knowledge. Namo Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within the material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under His lotus feet. Mukam karoti vachalam pungam lingayate girim yakripatam bande Shri Guru Dinaparam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ki Swaram. Simply by the mercy of the Guru, the lame person can climb mountains, and the dumb person can recite poetry, and the blind person can see the stars. So here we have a difference between material life and spiritual life. In material life, where everyone is hearing and talking about and remembering so many topics, chiefly about all sorts of entertainment and athletic events and politics, with to speak of economic development. I mean, they're so wrapped up in these things. And there's people who study these things in depth. There's people who talk about it on the radio, on the TV, on the internet, who publish books, who go to school for long lengths of time to in-depthly study these things. And that's just politics and economic development, with to speak of sense gratification. Now there's so much talk about material enjoyment. And then there's so much theology about attaining liberation from this world. Theology and yoga, liberation, mental speculation, metaphysics, about what in the world is beyond this world, and what is the perfection that how can a human being become perfect? But according to Srimad Bhagavatam, the perfection of human life is to become a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And becoming a devotee means that one takes a transcendental pleasure. One is in actually ecstasy, simply hearing about the transcendental activities, name, and fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is none different from His very self. They actually transcend the world simply by hearing these topics, these transcendental topics. So that's the difference in material life and spiritual life. In material life, people are completely absorbed in their material existence. And this very word used in the verse, karma, two words used in the verse, karma and guna, they bond living entities. Guna means like quality or ropes that can bond one up. So our material qualities bond us up because they make us think, I am this person, which is completely related to the body. All the qualities are coming out of the mind and the body. I act like a big shot, or I act like this type of person, or that type of person. There's so many different types of conditioning. People exhibit a certain degree of kindness, a certain degree of meanness, a certain degree of impatience, a certain degree of a lack of tolerance, and a certain degree of tolerance. People have all these mundane qualities, and they engage in some type of activity. And all this is producing their next life, their next body. But here we see the same words used in reference to Krishna. So when we remember Krishna's quality, it's not like remembering the quality of an ordinary human being. We can delineate the qualities of this person or that person in the world today or in the world in the past, and we can talk about their activities. But at the very best, I'll become somewhat similar to that person. And unless it's a great devotee of the Lord, what is the possibility of me getting out of this world? It's completely about this world. The whole pastime or activity of that person and all of their qualities is completely about this world, whether it be about bringing about change for the better, it's change for the better in this world, or whether it's about achieving this goal, it's about achieving a goal in this world. And so it all results in continued material existence. And the problem with that Srila Prabhupada made the famous analogy that living in the material world is like eating sweet rice or some delicacy that we really like, but with sand put in it. So that ruins the whole preparation. So in the material world, it may seem very nice, except that I have to grow old, I have to succumb to disease at different points in my life, and I have to not only witness, but I have to undergo death and a rebirth. None of it pleasant. So as much as I like this world, these things are like sand put in it. It ruins the whole thing. I don't know where I'm going in the next life, and I won't remember anything about this life, according to Vedic knowledge. So all those attachments become immediately broken from the persons and the places I'm attached to. But again, I develop an attachment to some other place and to some other persons. Because after all, that's the nature of the soul. The soul is a person. And the soul relishes its relationships and the clean state of affairs, or in this spiritual state of affairs. Sometimes the soul doesn't appreciate its relationships. It may be completely opposed the relationships. But that's the nature of this world. Not only is there goodness, but there's also darkness. And in between there's a passion to enjoy this world. And they're constantly competing with one another to make it better, to enjoy it, or to do what I want with it. So this is the material existence. Srila Prabhupada, he came here to give us Krishna consciousness and teach us the science of devotional service. Not mundane science. There's so many mundane sciences people learn to live in this world. But to give us transcendental science. And it's all centered around hearing about, just like we do in the material world, chanting about and remembering, instead of mundane things, the Supreme Personality of God. If we can simply absorb our mind in Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Vishnu Smaranam, hearing and chanting and remembering Vishnu or Krishna, then a change takes place. We become more and more transcendental because Krishna is transcendental. Instead of becoming more and more mundane, a person can become more and more transcendental. But it takes that sincerity and faith and devotion to the process. It's like the famous song, Baju Re Mana, my dear man, Baju Re Mana, my dear man. Simply remember Krishna and get out of this world of birth and death. Follow in the footsteps of the sadhus. This world is full of duality, like heat and cold, wind and the rain. And many times people completely misunderstand one another. And why am I in this world? It's simply because of my desire. And what happens? As soon as I lose my wealth and my youth, people don't care for me no more. If I don't have no money to pay for things, I'm just considered a bum on the street. And if I don't have any youth to do any work, people care even less for me. I'm useless to them. So very quickly, everything could end. Just like the comparison of water on a lotus flower. At any moment, that drop of water could be shaken off. So similarly in this life, at any moment, I could be gone. I may be in my best of shape. I may be at the top of my game, so to speak. And all of a sudden, tragedy, and I'm gone. So then what? Better take the time to serve Hari. And then what is that process? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Dasham, Vandanam, Dasham, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. And 6 other processes, including worship and praying, acting like a servant, massaging the Lord's lotus feet, becoming his friend, and sacrificing for him. Instead of sacrificing for this material existence, we should sacrifice for Krishna if we want to be transcendental, if we want to transcend this world. Krishna is not a material person, and he's not offering material remuneration like everybody in this world. There's some sort of material remuneration for our service. But in the transcendental realm, there's no material remuneration. There's only transcendental remuneration. The Lord provides according to our needs, according to our quota, and the emphasis or the pleasure must be in reviving that relationship with Krishna. And that relationship is revived by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, by chanting the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, and remembering them, then automatically at the hour of death, Krishna says if we remember him, then we attain to a nature like his own. As Prabhupada quoted in this verse, one who understands the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead does not take birth in this world again. 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 9. That's what our movement is all about, and that's what the emphasis of the service of Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness is offering to the world. How to transcend, how to free ourselves from misery means to go back home, back to Godhead. Not to stay in this world. One certainly has the privilege and the right to do that if they want. That's Krishna's mercy. But his mercy is also for those who understand that there is no happiness in this world, that it's all like eating sweet rice with sand in it. That as soon as you think you're deriving so much pleasure, then unfortunately there's misfortune in life. And things change, and I had to deal with just the opposite. Krishna compares it to summer and winter. There's always going to be winter. We enjoy the spring, summer, and fall, but winter will come one day. And we'll have to bundle up and try to keep ourselves warm. And similarly, I may be in the best of my times, but one day, disaster and distress are going to attack us. And I have to undergo that. I can't escape that. It's simply my lot. And again, it will change. That's the nature of this world. But there exists a world beyond this world that is full of transcendental bliss and happiness. In that world, there is no birth, death, old age, and disease. People live eternally. And their bodies and their minds are always happy. They don't have to take something to become happy. It's like my son used to, in Baton Rouge, used to room with this one nice young devotee, and they got separated, and he was living somewhere else, and that person was living somewhere else. One day, his mother called up Surya, said, "Can you please go back and stay with my son? He's having a very, very difficult time." He was by himself. He couldn't eat. He was suffering psychologically, and when he'd go to the doctor, they just told him there was something chemically wrong in his brain, and they wanted to prescribe him different medicines. And his mother was somewhat opposed to that, so she called Surya and asked him to go back over there. So Surya went over there and started cooking rice and dal and making sure he ate properly because he wasn't eating properly. And immediately he was feeling better. So it's like that in this world. I can't remember exactly why I brought that up. It had a connection. It wasn't completely separate.
You said you don't have to take something separate, something to make you happy.
Yeah, you don't have to take something to make us happy. And really, the happiness is inward. It's in our relationship with Krishna. And in this world, people are always having to find something to make them happy. If it's not some sort of liquor, it's some sort of drug. If it's, it's something in material existence. People become habituated to, and in a vain attempt to simply be happy in this world. Whereas in reality, the happiness, when we always hear that, you hear people who talk about self-awareness, they always say it's within. It's within, Happiness is a state of mind. So, but where is it? It's in Krishna consciousness. It's in becoming conscious of Krishna. By becoming, when we can achieve some faith in Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the soul begins to experience its transcendental self in relationship to Krishna. slowly but surely, to the extent that for the self-realized souls, they are completely tolerant of any sort of pain and pleasure, loss and gain. And they see rocks and gold as the same. They see everyone is equal, including people who, as the Bhagavad Gita says, who are dog eaters. They also see other mammals as the same, such as cows and elephants and dogs. They see everything equally because they're on a different plane of consciousness. They no longer are attached or suffering the difficulties in this world and making vain attempts to try to figure out how to solve the problems in a material way, which is only temporary. You do this, and it solves it for a few weeks or a few days, and then it just crops back up again. It's certain to return. Pain will come back, and so will pleasure. And it's a constant cycle because that's the nature of material existence. We can strive through our karma, like Maharaj Nriga. He strived through his karma to always be good, and he was the most pious of Kshatriyas. He protected the people, and he performed so much charity and sacrifice for the good of the world. But still he was bitten by an inevitable mistake and had to suffer for it. So we can try to do so good that there's always nothing but good karma in our cards or in our life. But it's very difficult in this world because of its nature that we can escape becoming contaminated in some way or another. Eventually, one gets captured. That's why one of the offenses against chanting the holy name is considered the chanting of the holy name to be like one of the Vedic ritualistic processes meant for good karma. People perform all sorts of sacrifice for good karma. We don't want to suffer bad karma. We want good karma. Good karma means, a person is smart. They get a good education. They're born in a family that can protect them and provide for them and have some sort of fame in the world. People appreciate. They've done good in this world, and you're a part of that family. They're healthy. They're strong. They're beautiful. Handsome. They're all these things is because of their good karma. And just the opposite for bad karma. Just the opposite. So people, they want good karma, and people can perform all sorts of religious activities for that, to please God, to achieve something better in life. But we can't equate that to the chanting of the holy names. Because the holy names, it can award us something beyond this world, not something just in this world. That is easily attained. Dhruva Maharaj, when he wanted something very big in this world, he wanted what he considered the best thing in this world. He wanted to rule over the greatest kingdom. And he performed great austerities to please Vishnu to achieve that. But when he got the darshan of Vishnu, he was embarrassed. He thought, I was really trying to simply collect some pieces of broken glass. And now I have achieved a great gem. And, I don't want those things anymore. I want to serve Vishnu. I'm tired of serving the state. I'm tired of serving, my mundane connections. I'm tired of serving this world. I want to serve the real world, the eternal world. What my real position is that I'm a servant of Krishna. So what is it that Krishna wants me to do? Why, what is keeping me from always serving him? That can be achieved, it is stated in these past few slokas, that can be achieved just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. One who systematically hears the Bhagavatam from beginning to end will completely know Krishna by the end. And here it's interesting how Prabhupada, he states that systematic hearing means knowing him gradually. We start with the first canto and we work up to the 12th. And means knowing him gradually in truth and fact. Means knowing him gradually in truth and fact. And this knowing him in truth, in fact, means attaining eternal life. So, it's undoubtedly, if we know Krishna, then, one knows everything. What need do we have? What need did Sudama Brahmana have when he went to please Krishna? And, he was sort of going for material things. He was poverty-stricken, and those days Brahmins make their living by going door to door and seeing if people need any help with anything that they can contribute. They do things like give medical advice, they do some counseling, they do some religious ritual, they teach the Vedas, they teach about Krishna, so they knock on the door, they ask people if there's anything they can do for them, or they remembering Krishna, is everything all right at home? And then they take in return, some little alms, people give them 25 cents, $1, they give them, some food. In the past they would give them some food. And that's what they would live off of. And for whatever reason, Sudama Brahman was so poor that his wife said to him, why don't you go and ask Krishna how he's doing? Everybody around here is poor, and so there's only so much people can give. Krishna, he's the king of Dwarka. Why don't you just go check on him? So she didn't want to do that, he felt, why am I going there, he knows I'm in this state of existence. I don't need to go there. But she would bring it up, and she would bring it up, and she would bring it up, and so finally he thought, maybe this is just Providence's will. I can take the opportunity to get Krishna's darshan. We were the best of friends in Gurukula, and I really would enjoy seeing him again. Let me go. So they collected some rice, because when you go to see somebody, you usually bring them a little gift, but they were so poor, they didn't have anything. So they bagged some rice from some neighbors to bring to Krishna, and it was just cheap rice. It wasn't like, basmati rice or expensive rice. It was like the lowest grade rice, like small grain, chip rice, coming from some company that, just picking up, the cheapest they can find and reselling it. So he brings this rice to Krishna, and Krishna and him have a good discussion. Krishna takes so good care of him that, he feels completely embarrassed that, Krishna is getting off his seat and giving him the seat, and Krishna is, going and massaging his feet and making sure his feet are clean. After all, he just walked all the way there, and he probably didn't have no shoes on. Krishna cleans his feet and massages his feet and gives him a wonderful bed to sleep in, makes sure he's clean, feeds him nicely, asks why he has come, and then he doesn't want to really give him that old rice, but Krishna forces him. And he enjoys that rice so much that the goddess of fortune, Rukmini, she requests Krishna, please don't eat any more, because this person's karma has changed drastically. Now I'm just afraid, how much opulence it will bring him. So anyway, eventually Sudama has to go on his way. He doesn't live there. He has to go home. So he tells Krishna bye and he leaves. And apparently, Krishna didn't give him a bunch of money or anything. I mean, he certainly blessed him with safe passage. And, he left and on his way home and was just in, you can imagine ecstasy. You can imagine just seeing Krishna personally. No longer is Krishna just a figment of the imagination. No longer is there a bunch of doubt concerning Krishna. No longer do I think that Krishna is this or Krishna is that. I can see Krishna face to face. I can see the beauty of his hands and his nails and his nose and his eyes and his curly hair. Everything about him. His sweet voice, it just puts one into a state of trance. What to speak about when he plays music. Some musicians are good. Some can really relieve us from our fatigue, just hearing their melodies and the music that they create. But, Krishna goes completely beyond that. I mean, it puts a person completely in trance. And, Sudama was just completely absorbed in these things while he walked home. But it appeared that when he gets home, what does he have to give but, a recitation of the Bhagavatam describing Krishna's transcendental beauty, name and form and quality. I'm sure his wife would love to hear that, but then, the kids are going to want to eat. Eventually they're going to want to eat. There's the rain's coming in the roof. So many things. So when he gets there, though, everything has changed. He can't recognize his house. He doesn't see his house where it used to be. Instead, it's like somebody built a Hilton there. It's like sometimes, there's, people are bought out and they build a big motel. So he gets home, and it's like while he was gone, he was bought out or something. All of a sudden, there's this big, luxurious building, like a palace, comparable to even Indra's palace. And his wife comes out to greet him, and she's changed. All of a sudden, when a person gets to go to the spa, and they get some people to do their nails and to do massage and to work their body back into health and give them proper food and substance, they nutrition and and they can use all sorts of perfect cosmetics that give the skin back its life and the hair back its life. So she comes out and she looks completely different. She's beautiful and she's dressed beautifully. And the same with his children. He can't understand all this. And not only that, but they have servants. Rich people only have servants, even in America. Anyone who's rich, any place in the world, they have servants. It's not that these people are just cheated, but they're paid a good wage. If you're a chauffeur for a really rich guy, you don't have any problem paying your bills. If you're the doorman for a really rich guy, you don't have no problem. What to speak of the cook? You think you have a problem if you're satisfying that person's appetite night after night? You think you have a problem paying your bills? This person can pay. So he got all these servants. And they're all healthy and good-looking people. So he naturally thinks about it, and he thinks, this can only be because of Krishna. But he didn't perform Vedic rituals to achieve that. All he did was simply engage in his Krishna consciousness. Now, of course, he was fortunate to already be a friend of Krishna. In our position, we can become the friend of Krishna. And we have to learn how to be Krishna's friend rather than Krishna's antagonist. Or, someone who always challenges Krishna, with like most of the people in the world. If you're really there, then why don't you show yourself? Why don't you do something? Why you're responsible for all this mess. We blame you for it. That's not exactly a friendly relationship. But devotional service means that one creates a friendly relationship with Krishna, to the extent that we don't question Krishna, question him in a challenging type of way. We are his friend. And it's an unconditional friendship, like Lord Chaitanya said. I unconditionally love you, even if you don't appear before me, and even if you give all sorts of adversities in my life. I am your friend. I love you unconditionally. So that's not an easy achievement, and so how do we achieve that? That is what is being taught to all of us common people. That is the science of Bhakti Yoga, or we could say a practice of Bhakti Yoga. A science is a practice, it's an experiment that you can perform. So by performing Bhakti Yoga, then one can gradually really become Krishna's friend. We can gradually like hearing about Krishna. Gradually we can come to the point of always remembering Krishna and naturally speaking about Krishna. But it's a practice, just like anything in this world is. Either one's practicing it, or they become expert at it, and they become somewhat of a professional at what they do. That's in this world. So the same in spiritual life. One must become a professional in one sense. We don't say professional devotee, but what that would mean would be, faithful devotee. And one must become a faithful devotee. And that's not an easy achievement for those of us who grew up, with a lack of faith. And yet, most of the people in the world, they claim to be, an agnostic, or, not many of, a minority claim to be an atheist, a lot more claim to be agnostic, and a lot claim to believe. But that belief is often tested, and at those times it's, people many times question their beliefs. And, belief is meant to, not be blind. It's not a blind faith. It's meant to actually be a vivid faith or vision, where there's no question of what Krishna looks like, what Krishna does, how Krishna acts, and what his attributes are. There's no question about these things. That those things become actually known. As Prabhupada said here in the purport, that the truth is known. So that is accomplished, by hearing the Bhagavad Gita and the Association of Devotees, and the Srimad Bhagavatam and Association of Devotees. And beyond that, the Leela, or the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we can stick to that process, then gradually we can become a full-fledged devotee. But in any case, these things surpass all sorts of ritualistic religious practices. It can in the Bhagavatam it says that even if one is full of material desire, they should still worship Krishna. Because not only will it purify them, but it will satiate the heart. It will satisfy them. So this process is for everyone. It's not that if we have material desires, all we can do is just do material things to try to satisfy them. We can also utilize this divine process that is not material and very simple process we can also hear about Krishna, chant about Krishna, remember Krishna, simply for the purification and fulfillment of our heart, whatever that may be. Whether one desires liberation, doesn't desire liberation, or wants all sorts of material things. One should still hear about and chant about Krishna, especially in this age. As Parikshit Maharaj said, that people who do good in this age, they get results right away. But results for bad things, they come only when we act bad. By doing something bad, then the bad result will come. But if we simply think about good things, the results start coming right away. That's one advantage in Kali Yuga. There are many disadvantages, but one advantage is that simply trying to do something good will immediately bring a good result. Whereas when people do something bad in the Kali Yuga, you have to actually do that thing. You have to actually go to the bank, rob it, threaten people, perhaps hurt people, take the money, and make a getaway and be gone. You have to actually do all that to get the karma. But good thing, we may start thinking about it. We may, just do a little bit. We may give a little charity, and immediately results start coming. Good results. That's an advantage in Kali Yuga. So, a lot of disadvantages, but there is, some advantage there also. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.